We'll start the broadcast now. Hopefully some people are there.
Okay. G'day everyone, Dan here from Zetifi, joined with Tom from Birch Cropping Group and Cam Ferrier, a farmer from the Birch region. We're here today to have a chat about some of the trials that Zetifi has conducted alongside Birch Cropping Group with their support and with the support of local farmers to provide better connectivity into the region and provide better connectivity, better internet access and better coverage across their properties. I've got some slides that I'm going to share. There'll be an opportunity to talk to Cam about his experiences using the technology, an opportunity to ask any questions you got of me around how the tech works and whether it might be suitable for you. And then we're going to start having a look at the grant funding opportunities. So the federal government has announced quite recently the Regional Connectivity Program, which is a $53 million fund. And Zetifi are partnering with Birch Cropping Group to conduct a scoping initially and then a grant submission using funding from the federal government to provide a place-based solution, to provide connectivity into farms, to provide connectivity across farms, to provide better internet, to provide coverage where you need it, and at the same time provide a public benefit through a public hotspot. So we'll talk about that in detail as well, and show you how you can register interest if you'd like to be involved in applying for some of that grant funding along with Zetifi and Birch Cropping Group. I'll share some slides now just so that we can talk about what the work that we've been doing down in the Wimmera Mallee area. So, and I'll tell you a little bit about who we are and what we do. So I'm the founder of Zetifi. We're a startup company. There's 10 of us in the company now, so not tiny, but not huge by any stretch. You'll get my mobile number whenever you want it. You can call me when you need help. We're big enough to get things done, but we're small enough that we really need to keep working hard directly with producers to show progress on this very tough problem of providing connectivity into rural and remote areas. We're based in Wagga Wagga, New South Wales. We manufacture our gear here and we build it tough enough for farms. We make it really rugged. It's designed to provide you with fast and reliable internet, with better connectivity around your farm and with off-grid optimized devices. And as you can hear, it works. That's Cam's phone ringing, which it wouldn't have done, I reckon, only a month ago before you got our solution implemented, Cam, hey? So we started working with the Birch Cropping Group after some meetings with NBN Co. Were put together looking at the various stakeholders that were interested in providing a solution to filling in these gaps. You can see that NBN have done a job of providing fixed wireless coverage where they can, where there's enough population base to support that infrastructure. But that leaves a lot of places, and this map just shows the Birch region, but it's essentially the same right across Australia. Basically, unless you've got enough population density, you're not going to get fixed wireless coverage. Telstra 4G, it's a great network, same with Optus's 4G network, but again, you've got this big problem of them only being able to put macro cells or mobile towers in regions where there's enough population density to support that. And obviously that means that 2/3 of farms are left with insufficient coverage, which is the problem that we're looking to tackle. The way we're trying to tackle it is using a new product that we developed called the Zetifi Cell. So this is a combined private and public long-range Wi-Fi access point that can be backhauled to the internet. So it can get its internet access over Telstra 4G, over Optus 4G, or over satellite where required. But we can usually get onto 3G or 4G by getting up nice and high. And that's what we've done across multiple properties in Birch. And Cam will tell you a little bit about his experiences with it shortly. But basically by putting a mast on top of your shed and putting some high gain antennas on there and having a high quality modem and good electronics that's been set up properly, we can often get you a better signal. Well, we can always get you a better signal, and we can often get you a good enough signal to give you excellent coverage. It's roughly 10 times cheaper than a small cell and 100 times cheaper than a full mobile tower. There are some trade-offs here. You're not getting a phone tower. What you're getting is a Wi-Fi repeater with this, so it gives you internet access. And it does mean that if you want to use it for voice calling, you need to have a phone that supports Wi-Fi calling. So it's not considered a replacement for a phone tower. You need to have an iPhone or a Samsung and make use of the Wi-Fi calling functionality on that. So Wi-Fi calling's come a long way. Many of you probably already use it. Basically, your phone works if you've got reliable Wi-Fi. You don't have to use Skype or anything special. It'll just ring, as demonstrated. and you can just call out whenever you need to on your number. So it's a very useful technology, and Telstra, thanks to one of the silver linings of COVID, to get the app working, Telstra turned on SMS over Wi-Fi, so that's now working reliably as well. Our model for delivering this, and the thing that makes this hopefully eligible for the federal funding, is the fact that the Zetifi Cell has these dual access points and dual internet access methods. So one that's private for the farm, providing connectivity so you can have better internet in the house, so you can use things like Zoom. I don't know, some of you are probably finding this a bit slower than you'd like. Or you'd have trouble sharing your video, so faster internet, more responsive, and lower cost internet, because you're not going to have satellite anymore. And better connectivity across the property, so you can have cameras, so you can use all those cool features that all these new screens and displays, everything that Case IH are advertising and everything their competitors are advertising, needs connectivity to make use of that remote support. Better home, better shed coverage, so that you can, when you're in your shed working, you can actually take a phone call and just get on with getting work done. And vehicle kits, so you can have coverage around your property. At the same time, providing that public Wi-Fi access off the same infrastructure, that's a good incentive for the government to hopefully subsidise the cost of this system for you, and it's a good incentive for us to get involved and give you a good deal, because it means we can build out a network that fills in that last 1% of the population, or provides a solution for the 2/3 of the landmass where 1% of the population live, where we don't have coverage at the minute. So Cam, this is a quote from you, mate, or it might be paraphrasing. And it's not a photo of you. I think that's actually John that works for me, and that's not even your ute. I think that's Sammy's ute and Sammy's property, but it was a better photo than what I got of you. So we're we don't tell fibs there, but it's not far from your place, and it does work really well there as well. But I might hand over to you just to talk about the coverage situation before and after Zetifi got involved with this project with Birch Cropping Group. Just share some of your experiences and how it's changing your operation for you, and how it's changing things for the family.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks, Dan. Yeah, well, we farm 22 kilometres down to Birch. It's not a huge distance. We seem to be in the middle of Birch. We're letting the sea lake coal go up. At night, you can see the towers flashing their lights, but we're just on the edge of the sweet spot, I suppose, and it makes phone calls and internet very difficult. So not so much, I wouldn't say there was no service, it was just very unreliable. Had a lot of phone calls that just drop out, and you'd get the 2 beeps halfway through a telephone call, which says to me that the service is actually not good enough. But especially around the house, we couldn't make phone calls in the house. We'd have to step outside. I couldn't make phone calls in the workshop or around the sheds. I'd have to hop in a vehicle and drive down towards the front gate, trying to pick up a position that's looking directly at Birch. So after the Zetifi network had been installed, I no longer have to do that, and can quite comfortably make phone calls in the house. We've got good internet access in the house, in the workshop, in the shearing shed, down in the paddock, thanks to the rover. The rover is, Dan can probably explain it a little bit better than I can, but it's just a device that is on your vehicle, and you can remove it from vehicle to vehicle, tractor to tractor. The range from that is probably around that 300 metres, so getting a good response from that. So I'm really impressed with the rover. So it's made life more comfortable with children and homeschooling in the last few months, I suppose it is. So I'm not sure how homeschooling would have gone without the network, but it's definitely made a huge difference. And I'm happy. I can only speak for myself, but our location at the moment where we are is working fine, and yeah, really had no issues. So, still been good, Dan.
Thanks, Cam. Okay, so as Cam said, that's one person's experience. We've had good success in the Birch region because they've got what we would consider a lot of grey spots. So the sort of coverage where you're reliably getting a phone call now and then, you're getting lots of dropped calls more often. It's your text messages generally work. It's not a full-blown black spot, and it's very easy for us to solve connectivity problems in a location like that. As you get into worse coverage areas, it gets progressively harder. Doesn't mean we can't add significant value, but we don't want to make everyone think they're going to get 50 megabits down, because in some locations that's just not possible. In some we can get more, but that's we'll talk to you individually, and if you register your interest for doing something similar to what we've done here with this federal funding, we will have a look at your property. We'll have a look at the coverage maps. We'll get some information from you that allows us to put together a reasonable prediction of what sort of coverage and reasonable prediction about what sort of speed you could expect where you use our technology to do it. I'll share my screen again, 1 second. And we'll just have a look at what we're actually talking about. So the Zetifi Cell is the main product that we use to provide this connectivity. So it's essentially a 4G modem, or dual 4G modems with a high power Wi-Fi repeater. It's installed often on top of a shed. It can be solar powered, it can be mains powered. It can be a combination if you've got unreliable mains power. It can provide direct coverage around 300 meters around that location to a phone. So it's certainly not a replacement for a cell tower, but we're not claiming it is. It's 1% of the cost of a cell tower, 10% of the cost of a small cell. Small cell might give you 500 meters. This one's only 300. But the good thing is, because it's Wi-Fi and because we've got a Wi-Fi repeater that you can put on your vehicles, we can extend that coverage out. So by putting it onto your car with the rover, you can get at least a few kilometers where you've got line of sight coverage out to that. And because the rover connects directly to Telstra and Optus as well, you can actually get coverage directly via the little bit of 4G coverage you might have more reliably, just as Cam is as well. Buildings, we can connect off the Zetifi Cell easily 5 kilometers line of sight. So if you've got one spot on your property that's got 4G coverage, maybe on top of a hill or on top of a nearby property where you want to link them up, we could put one up there and then bounce it across easily 5 kilometers. Up to 10's generally okay. Again, we do need a line of sight to make that work. It's running on a frequency that needs clear line of sight, so take that into account. And just onto the actual funding opportunity that we're dealing with here, and then we'll move to a Q&A where you can have a chat to Cam and ask any questions you've got of me. But essentially what we're proposing and what we're looking to do is to provide a standard solution where a farm is able to get a Zetifi Cell, giving them faster internet to their house, faster and Wi-Fi coverage around their key areas. So typically around the sheds and the workshop, maybe under the yards and things. Typical cost for this, and again, we'll look at each location, and it depends on whether you've got mains power or whether you need solar, but your typical project cost is going to be between $6,000 and $12,000, meaning that we're looking for the grower to contribute between $3,000 and $6,000. Your ongoing costs, which are important to look at, we charge $150 per device per year for the support. It means that there's someone here to pick up the phone, and that's $150 for each Zetifi Cell, and $150 if you've got an AP for the house. So if it's just the yard, the sheds, and the house, you might be up for $300 a year. So that means that we can provide that support. What you're getting for that, in addition to that Wi-Fi coverage and the support from us, is a dedicated connection, the hardware that will enable a dedicated connection. So we will work directly with Telstra and Optus, or with Optus for you, and organise to get a SIM in there that is yours. That's contracted separately through Telstra. If you're like Cam, you've probably already got a bunch of Telstra phones, and just adding one extra SIM allows you to tap into that data pool. That's for your private part of the network. And then what we'll do is install a separate SIM card that provides connectivity to the public as they're driving past. We're doing this to hopefully fill in those gaps so that more people can get more value out of these rovers where there are mobile black spots. 4G has got some, the 4G providers, Telstra and Optus, both have some pretty competitive plans right now for 4G data that will give you more than what you can get on satellite. And obviously it's lower latency and higher speed as well. So if you're looking at what your monthly costs are going to be in total, it depends how many gigabytes you want. But yeah, you can go direct to Telstra and have a look. They do have plans at the minute, $75 a month for 200 gig. Now, the public benefit, as I say, is that this same infrastructure that we're putting on top of your shed will be accessible to other people remotely, but that is via a public network that does not touch your private network. They're completely isolated. So yeah, very secure. And that's the offer that we're looking at. There's no real cap on the number we can work with here. The good thing is that this solution can provide significant value to one farmer, like Cam, or where we can get multiple people involved, we can actually start stitching together these networks, providing more coverage into the gap. So when Cam drives past your place, the rover on his vehicle will tap into the public network on your shed, and it'll provide him coverage in that black spot, so he can have uninterrupted coverage throughout the region. So the more people that get involved, the better. But if there's only one, if it's just you in your region and you want one, there's still a lot of value there. We've got people like Auctions Plus using this technology to conduct on-farm auctions, and they're very happy with it. We've got Elders Stock and Station agents using it. So we have tested it. It is still a prototype product from Zetifi, but it's a late stage prototype that's been tested out in the field and works well enough. And I'll get Tom to give a little bit of feedback as well, if you've got a second, Tom, about your experiences using the rover. Because I know you've had some experiences using it out there in the field across the wider region. So you can probably give us some info on that if you've got a minute.
Yeah, of course. So my name's Tom Draffen. I work for the Birch Cropping Group, and I'm the Senior Manager of Communication and Extension here. So basically my job involves extending the research work we do to the greater farming audience. And we do a lot of that work from the field. And this year particularly, we're doing a lot of that digitally, because we aren't allowed to have crop walks and things like that where we actually have people interacting with our sites, but we have to do things via Zoom and from the paddock. Using this rover system, we've been able to run Zoom calls from the paddock, run live streams in the paddock, and to integrate all our digital media through that rover that we wouldn't normally be able to do. Our sites are fairly often remote and often without any signal at all, and we've been able to have full connectivity pretty much at all those sites this year. So it's been a really it's been a boost for us in terms of our communications program, but it's also just been a boost for our work health and safety initiative as well, which we're really heavy into making sure that we do the right thing by our employees, and they're now fully covered when they're out in the field. So we've not had any issues this year with being able to be in contact with our field crews. So that's been a really big bonus as well. We've done a live cross to Adelaide Uni from the paddock with a select number of agronomists who are viewing a trial site out there, and had good interaction, easy connectivity, and that was out in the middle of a paddock in Rurally. I've done live streams with the drone from paddocks in Rapania, out at our main site at Carrio, and places like that where I normally wouldn't have been able to do it before. And yeah, we've been really happy with the way it's working. So we do see a problem in the future, ongoing, with connectivity if we don't get it right for our farming group, because the way that things are moving nowadays, it's relying more and more on being able to connect virtually and be able to connect and absorb information via digital streams, and also to be able to utilise the full potential of your equipment that you're paying a premium for will require basically better connectivity moving forward. So we did a research study a couple of years ago through the Birch Cropping Group, and I can't exactly remember the number, unfortunately, but the loss of productivity in terms of dollars per hectare is astronomical because of missed opportunities with connectivity. So we feel this is a really good opportunity to get more people involved in this project as a startup, and put something forward to the regional connectivity program to show the federal government that we're actually really serious about this, about improving our own connectivity and regional connectivity, and that we're willing to put some money behind it ourselves to do that. So good news from us, Dan. But yeah, again, we're a single entity in what we do. We're lucky to have the opportunity to fund the installation of the Zetifi equipment onto a few of our members, such as Cam. So yeah, hopefully into the future we can do a bit more of that if the money's available.
Excellent. Thanks, Tom. A couple of questions in there. So Gus has asked, are there ongoing costs if it needs a SIM? Yes, there are. If you choose, you don't have to use the SIM card in the Zetifi Cell if you don't want to. Like there's an allocation on each Zetifi Cell for a dedicated SIM slot for each Zetifi Cell for the private host. And if they choose to use it, then yes, there is an additional cost, and you'd have to look at your subscription plans. We all agree that 4G data costs are not as good as getting fixed wireless NBN, and not as good as getting fibre to the curb. But clearly, we've got to deal with the reality of the situation that those products aren't going to be available anytime soon in most rural and remote locations, which makes 4G a very good alternative when compared to satellite. Just like Wi-Fi is not a silver bullet by any stretch, it does need line of sight. The range is limited compared to what you can get out of 4G, but it's so much cheaper, and it's really a viable solution for this market. And we've done around 100 properties now, so we've shown this works. And people, once they've got Wi-Fi, can have wireless cameras, they can have sensors, and they can have a working phone and a working tablet and a working screen in their tractor. So there are a lot of really tangible benefits to this that make a big difference to your operation. I'm sure there'll be lots of cool stuff around the corner with IoT and everything, but right now it's getting your phone working, getting your internet working better. Another question, what happens when the 3G service is shut down? Excellent question. So 3G is scheduled for shutdown in 2024, I believe. On the Telstra network. I don't know if Optus have announced when they're doing it. So we've got a little bit of time there. Honestly, if you could only get onto 3G using our system, we probably wouldn't recommend it. The speeds on 3G are quite slow, and you're probably in reality better off with satellite than you are with 3G in most situations. There could be some reasons that you could argue that 3G is better than satellite, but in general, if I had to choose between running my office off 3G or running it off satellite, I'd pick satellite. As it turns out, we can often get very, very good coverage. Now, I hadn't planned on sharing this screenshot, and I can't, again, it's all place-based here. We're talking about what's available at your place versus what's available somewhere else, but this was up near Warren. We did an installation a few weeks ago. Sorry, just looking for the screenshot. Second. And you'll see, share my screen again, that in this situation, and again, yeah, your results may vary, they've got 3G inside the house, and we're going crazy because this is somebody runs a business from home. They're only getting 3 bars of 3G, and we all know what that's going to give you, not very much data, to put it politely. But once we got on the roof with a 5-meter mast and a couple of Yagis for a Zetifi Cell, they had 70 meg down, 33 meg up. Now, that's the fastest we would typically get. More common is sort of 20 meg down and 10 meg up. But the better latency is a huge benefit. But yeah, it just depends where you are, how far you are from the tower, how congested the tower is, all those other factors. But yeah, big benefit there. I want to show you how you can express interest. And if anyone's got more questions, chuck them in the chat pod there and I'll answer it as we go here. But if you go to zetifi.com, at the very top there, there's a bar where you can register your interest on this page. Or you can go directly to CC, as in Connectivity Collective, which is the term we're giving to this project. And you can fill in this form. We've tried to make it very friendly in that the minimum we can take from you is your name and phone number, so we can give you a call. But we would like it if you're comfortable providing more detail. You don't have to, but give us your email address so that we've got that, because we'll need it soon enough. Put your address if you like, so that we can start assessing what you need. And then we've built a little app within this, and this will work on your phone. Basically, you can type in, I'm just going to type in shed here just as an example. Shed, and jump to a location. So put in whatever road you usually find to find it. I'm just going to type in Silo Road, because we're all sure there'll be lots of silo roads out there. Let's try one in New South Wales. And just pick a random farm. Sorry if this happens to be someone you know, but this is just pure random. Let's say that this area didn't have good connectivity and we wanted to do something about it. We can type in slow internet at over satellite, want faster internet. This is our shed. Doesn't matter, it's free text, just type in whatever you want. It has power, phone coverage is unreliable, would like to have Wi-Fi calling, internet around shed and yards, and wireless cameras. Now, wireless cameras aren't going to be covered by the grant because it's a connectivity project, but once you've got the infrastructure in, obviously you can use it for whatever you need. You may have to just tick that or do the annoying thing where you choose signs or whatever, but once you've done it, hit register interest or add more locations. If you want to say that you've got a house you want to connect to there, you can just drag the map around and say, I'm trying to connect this house to the shed. Want to connect house to shed. As I said, you don't have to fill in this form. If you just want to talk to us and find out some more, then just fill in your details at the top, hit register interest, and you're done. So as easy as that. But for anyone that's not comfortable doing that, yeah, you can just call me directly if you want. 0410 351 270 is my number. So yeah, that's yeah, we'll get that published out there. And yeah, you guys can give me a call. Ray Kingston, will it retrofit when 5G comes through? I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I suspect that anyone in this webinar, yeah, I doubt that anyone in this webinar is going to get 5G anytime soon. If it does come through, then all our systems are modular, so that yes, in theory we could swap a chip out, but honestly, the providers aren't looking at putting millimeter wave 5G high-speed mobile connectivity anywhere except in the city centres. Even in the next, like the longest distance they can make a travel is 3K. So for a lot of you, it won't even go from your shed to your driveway if they put a tower on your shed. So unfortunately, I think we're going to be stuck with 4G for a long time. The 4G standard will be rolled into the 5G standard. It'll be fully backwards compatible in that sense with whatever infrastructure we deploy for 4G. If something changes there, then we are building all our hardware to be as modular as possible so that we can upgrade as that happens. Yeah. Ray, another good question. Sorry, Tom.
You're right. No, second question.
Yep. So yeah, second question around, yeah, stop this for a sec. Stop the share. So second question around, you'll hit the 4G data plan limits, for example, 500 gig. Yeah, you probably will, but you're also hitting the satellite data limit. So this is really, it's not a good solution for anyone who's got access to NBN fixed wireless or NBN fiber. It's a good solution for people that have got satellite or who are really sick of their ADSL. If you hit 500 gig easily, then chances are you're going to have to just buy more SIMs and you will be spending a fair bit on data. The only good news I've got there is that it is trending downwards. Like if you look at it year on year, the cost of a gigabyte of data over 4G, it is getting cheaper and cheaper. But as we have seen unlimited plans out there that the providers have trialed, but they haven't ever gone with those at scale. I'm really looking forward to the day that they do. And I suspect that Telstra, and this is just pure, like no inside info, but I would say it would make commercial sense for Telstra to do that. That they've got a good opportunity to win market share from the NBN if they do provide more competitive data costs over 4G. But as and when that happens, you'll be able to make use of it. Until then, you've either got the decision to stick with ADSL, which is, as we know, pretty ordinary, stick with satellite, which is potentially worse still, or pay the required cost for data. And most farmers have got more than one service, and the plan allocations on the phones for data are getting pretty generous. Bundle those together and you've actually got a solution that works for a lot of properties. Excellent. Any more questions or any questions for Cam?
Doesn't look like it at the moment, Dan.
Cool.
What I will say is if anyone does want to get in contact with us about this project, feel free to hit up Dan or send an email at bcg.com.org.au and we'll get back to you.
One more question there. Gus can use a closed loop system. Yes, that's one of the big advantages of Wi-Fi over using a small cell. So a small cell gives you better phone coverage around your property, but they cost about 50 grand. A booster gives you better phone coverage, but they only go about 30 meters. the disadvantage of both of those is that the data has to go out to the internet and then back in. Whereas if you have Wi-Fi, you can have cameras that record to your shed. You can have a dedicated link between your house and your shed, or your house and the yards, and a camera that's 5 Ks away, or loggers, or soil moisture probes, or weather stations, or whatever you like, because it's all on your property, and you're not paying for data that just goes through the Wi-Fi. You're just paying for data that goes out to the internet.
Absolutely. We'll be following Cam and the 2 other growers that we've got the Zetifi equipment on over the next little while as part of the project we're currently working on with Zetifi. So if anyone does want to follow that story, if they're still on the fence about this type of equipment and how it compares in the long run, we feel that harvest is going to be a really good opportunity to see how this system works and how Cam and the other growers find their feet and find it useful during that time as well. Obviously spending a lot more time out deep in the paddock, off the roads where the service is more available. So we will be following that story pretty closely and making some case studies. So if people do want to follow those stories along, just keep your eye on the Birch Cropping Group's Facebook and other social accounts, and sign up to our e-news if you would like to get up with those bits of news that we have coming out fairly regularly. Cam, have you got anything else you want to add?
No, I think I've covered it all, but yeah, the main issue that I forgot to add there before, one issue that Dan touched on, I suppose, is I had a lot of calls that would just go straight through to 101. The phone wouldn't actually ring, and it'd just go straight through. I haven't had one of them for a while, so everything seems to be quite positive. And
we squashed that bug.
That's right. So that was very frustrating, especially if you were expecting a phone call and you had to go through the process of not being able to access like a private number or something like that. It was very, starting to get a little, patients were starting to wear a bit thin there towards the end, but now it's all good. So yeah,
Excellent.
it's working. Yeah.
Dan, do you want to just succinctly wrap up what we're basically asking here in a simple way? So when's the funding application due for this work? And
Absolutely. Yep. Okay. So the application's due. We've got to get it submitted by the 20th of October. So we really need expressions of interest during September. So if you're interested, go to zetifi.com. Just bring it up here. Zetifi.com, click on the link at the top there, register your interest using the form that's here. And once you've filled that in, we'll be in contact and we'll complete a high-level design for your property, a proposal for your property. And if you accept that proposal, then we can include you in the grant application. Unless you fill in this form this month, ideally, and give us time to create that proposal and give you time to evaluate it, then it'll be hard to hit that 20th of October deadline. So there's no commitment in filling this form. Just put your details in and we'll be in touch and we can see whether this is a good fit for you.
Absolutely. So we're basically looking for an in-kind support from the growers who want to have a subsidised opportunity to install this infrastructure and see how this project works at a subsidised fee. So
that's it.
Thanks very much, Dan, and thank you, Cam. Thanks for everyone for attending today. It's short and sharp and pretty simple, but it's a good opportunity if anyone's looking to improve their connectivity and take advantage of this offer. So looking forward to hearing from everyone, and thanks very much.
Cheers. Bye.
Good on you.